On the humid dawn of August 7, 1942, Guadalcanal's jungle floor quivered beneath the first wave of United States Marines landing at Lunga Point, the early morning mist hanging thick with the smell of salt, wet earth, and decaying foliage, while Imperial Japanese defenders of the 230th Infantry Regiment crouched behind hastily prepared log-and-earth fortifications, gripping rifles slick with sweat, anticipating what they believed would be another routine clash with an enemy whose capabilities they underestimated, unaware that the first shots fired across the humid canopy would mark not merely a battle but the revealing of a fundamental disparity in physical capacity and combat endurance that would reshape their tactical doctrine for the remainder of the Pacific War. Private Taro Yamamoto, 5 feet 3 inches and weighing 118 pounds, adjusted his Type 99 rifle sling with shaking fingers, feeling the strain of a 55-pound combat kit almost half his body weight, containing ammunition, bayonet, entrenching tool, mess kit, blanket roll, and emergency rations, each item pressing into his back and shoulders with relentless insistence, while 3,000 miles across the Pacific, Corporal Jack Harris, 5 feet 9 inches and 152 pounds, adjusted his own 38-pound combat load, distributed perfectly across the ergonomically designed webbing that he had worn for months in training at Camp Lejeune. Feeling the M1 Garand balanced comfortably against his shoulder, magazines fully loaded, grenade secured, and first aid supplies accessible, every step across the volcanic sand taken with a precision born of repetition, endurance, and industrially optimized equipment, the 34-pound difference in effective mass between them translating immediately into both psychological and operational advantage. A factor that Japanese intelligence had noted with growing alarm in previous campaigns yet would confront directly for the first time that morning, as the first gunshots shattered the humid morning stillness at 0600 hours. Marines sprinted through thick undergrowth, their boots sinking into mud and volcanic ash, advancing in tightly coordinated fire teams, exchanging whispered commands, their movements synchronized with a discipline and fluidity that left Japanese defenders scrambling to recalibrate their expectations, while Yamamoto and his comrades struggled to adjust their positions, the weight of their packs sapping energy almost as rapidly as the oppressive tropical heat and humidity, a combination that exacerbated the 46% load relative to body weight, forcing soldiers to pause repeatedly to adjust packs and catch breath, their rifles heavy in smaller, weaker hands, each burst of movement an ordeal that taxed muscular endurance, cardiovascular capacity, and mental resolve. As Harris's squad advanced, they encountered the first Japanese machine gun nests embedded in coral ridges, and the disparity in physical capacity became unmistakable. Harris, wielding the Browning automatic rifle whose recoil demanded upper body mass and stability to maintain accuracy, fired sustained bursts while bounding between cover. The weapon shaking in lesser hands would have thrown off aim, yet Yamamoto's gunners, lighter and less able to absorb the energy, struggled to maintain effective suppressive fire, requiring assistance from comrades already burdened by equipment, while Marines leveraged superior mass to advance, maneuver, and maintain offensive pressure, turning tactical movement into an extension of physical capability, highlighting the operational calculus of strength-to-load ratios and endurance as measured not in statistics but in yards gained, positions seized, and firepower delivered under extreme environmental conditions. Throughout the morning, the interplay of physical advantage, tactical doctrine, and environmental challenge unfolded repeatedly. Marines repositioning under mortar fire with minimal loss of formation, utilizing cover provided by foliage, fallen trees, and uneven volcanic terrain, while Japanese defenders attempted to exploit terrain, but were constrained by fatigue, heat, and overburdened loads that impeded rapid maneuver, all while doctrinal differences compounded the disparity, with American forces trained to optimize load distribution, mobility, and sustained combat, and Japanese forces emphasizing spiritual discipline, stealth, and localized tactical precision, yet under conditions where prolonged engagement favored mass and endurance. The limitations of the smaller, lighter soldiers became apparent. When hand-to-hand combat erupted in shell craters near the airfield, the physical mismatch became tangible, with Marines significantly heavier and stronger, executing bayonet thrusts, rifle butt strikes, and grappling maneuvers that smaller Japanese soldiers could counter only through technique, leverage, and local terrain advantage. Yet the cumulative effect of repeated engagements demonstrated that size and endurance were decisive when mobility and firepower were required repeatedly over hours, then days, and later weeks. Over subsequent operations, as the initial landings extended into patrols inland, Harris's squad covered 12 miles of dense jungle in 8 hours, maintaining formation, energy, and fire discipline, while Yamamoto's platoon required 11 hours for the same distance, with repeated rest breaks. Degraded formations, and mounting injuries from overexertion, highlighting the operational consequences of carrying 50% of body weight versus 28%, and the compounding effect over multiple days where caloric intake, hydration, terrain difficulty, and load management collectively determined effectiveness, revealing that industrially supplied nutrition, ergonomic equipment, and disciplined rotation contributed as much to operational success as individual courage or skill. The Guadalcanal campaign continued with repeated demonstrations of these principles, engagement after engagement, patrol after patrol, where Marines' larger frames allowed longer sustained movement, superior management of weapon recoil, rapid repositioning under fire, and sustained offensive pressure, while Japanese defenders relied on ambush, infiltration, and exploitation of terrain to mitigate disadvantages, often successfully inflicting casualties yet unable to maintain mobility or execute sustained operations without physical degradation, their smaller frames, heavier relative loads, and nutritional deficits exacting a toll that manifested in slower reaction times, diminished marksmanship, and mounting casualties, reinforcing lessons for both sides about the arithmetic of human endurance in combat, the limits of spiritual discipline without physical optimization, and the interplay of strength, training, and logistics as decisive factors in tactical outcomes. As the war progressed, these lessons carried forward to later amphibious operations, including the Plu campaign, where Harris, now a sergeant, carried a 66-pound load including specialized equipment such as a flamethrower and demolition charges across coral ridges and into cave systems prepared by Yamamoto's company, whose soldiers, reduced in weight and supply, leveraged intimate knowledge of terrain and defensive positioning to impose attrition on superior forces, demonstrating that terrain, preparation, and tactical innovation could offset physical disparities, as Marines advanced yard by yard, clearing interlocking fields of fire, breaching caves, and engaging defenders who remained deadly within confined spaces where mobility advantages were neutralized, emphasizing that physical superiority was neither absolute nor sufficient without support from doctrine, logistics, and combined arms. The extended siege operations across 6 weeks, with Marines suffering 60% casualties in cave fighting despite enduring advantages in size, strength, and load-bearing, revealed that success relied on a combination of sustained physical performance, systematic resupply, specialized equipment, tactical innovation, and small unit cohesion, while Japanese defenders demonstrated how defensive terrain and commitment to attritional resistance could force even superior forces into prolonged, costly engagements, eroding expected operational efficiency and forcing commanders to adapt doctrine to incorporate slower, methodical advances and coordinated application of specialized weapons such as flamethrowers and demolition charges, underscoring that the arithmetic of physical advantage interacted inseparably with strategic, tactical, and logistical variables. Through the completion of campaigns across the Pacific, from Guadalcanal to Plu, to subsequent operations in the Amur-Brogel Mountains, Uoima, and Okinawa, Marines observed that weight advantages, while consistently providing measurable benefits in load carriage, weapon handling, and endurance, could be neutralized by prepared defenses, innovative use of terrain, and a willingness to accept attritional costs beyond American operational tolerance, while Japanese forces, though physically smaller and lighter, employed tactics that leveraged confined spaces, concealment, and calculated risk to slow advances and inflict disproportionate casualties. revealing that strategic outcomes in the Pacific were determined not solely by individual physical capacity, but by the integration of human performance, equipment design, logistical support, tactical doctrine, and command decisions across multiple scales of engagement, a realization confirmed as Harris recovered in Pearl Harbor in late 1945, reflecting on the limits of weight advantages and the cumulative effects of logistics, nutrition, medical support, and strategic planning on combat effectiveness, recognizing that while his 32-pound mass advantage had enabled specific tactical successes, ultimate victory had required the orchestration of institutional and operational factors that magnified human performance, a lesson echoed in post-war studies, intelligence assessments, and occupational reports that documented the interplay between soldier size, load-bearing capacity, nutrition, equipment ergonomics, and battlefield tactics, demonstrating that the arithmetic of war extended far beyond the individual body and into the complex systems that governed movement, engagement, and endurance, providing a comprehensive understanding of how both physical disparity and systemic support shaped outcomes in the Pacific theater, and underscoring that while strength and endurance mattered in immediate combat, the decisive determinants of victory were embedded in the integration of human, material, and doctrinal resources across a theater of war whose unforgiving environment tested every facet of soldier performance, command judgment, and logistical capacity in ways that were at once measurable, tangible, and profoundly consequential for the final outcome of the conflict.